This is Dimitri Lascaris coming to you from Kalamata, Greece. Over the past year, during my extensive travels in Greece and Cyprus, I've noticed something different. Israelis seem to be everywhere. They're not hard to identify because Hebrew is, at least to my ears, a distinctive language. I'm not the only one who has formed the impression of a large influx of Israelis into Cyprus and Greece. So too have the Greek, Cypriot, and Israeli media. For example, in August of this year, the Israeli newspaper Haaretz published an article entitled, "The Second Israel, Israelis are streaming into Cyprus to buy anything in sight." According to the Haaretz article, there has always been movement to the island, but in recent months, quote, "the trickle is becoming a flood," close quote. Haaretz offered some interesting observations about Israelis in Cyprus. Several commentators who spoke to Haaretz expressed concern that the influx of Israelis into Cyprus was causing the price of real estate to rise and was making homes less affordable to the indigenous population. One Israeli who had emigrated to Cyprus told Haaretz, quote, "Israelis don't come quietly, they make a lot of noise. The more Israelis come here, the more worried I am," close quote. Haaretz cited numerous factors for the huge increase in Israelis going to Cyprus. Those factors included the high and ever-increasing cost of living in Israel, the heavy vehicular traffic on Israel's roads, and the Netanyahu regime's judicial reform law. But nowhere in Haaretz's 52-paragraph article was there any mention of Israel's brutal treatment of the Palestinian people. Haaretz interviewed 11 Israelis who discussed the reasons for which Israelis are, quote, "flooding into Cyprus." It also spoke with several Greek Cypriots who help Israelis move to or invest in the island. Not a single one mentioned Palestinians. In fact, the word Palestinian appears nowhere in the lengthy Haaretz expose. Now, by the standards of Israel's racist media, Haaretz arguably is pro-Palestinian. And yet the people who spoke to Haaretz for this article did not evince the slightest concern for the rights of Palestinians. So before you conclude that the Israelis who are leaving Israel for Cyprus are conscientious objectors, think again. In fact, there's little, if any, evidence that I can find that Israel's violations of Palestinian rights play a significant role in the Israeli flood into Cyprus or Greece. Few people in the region know that the Zionist attachment to Cyprus dates almost from the founding of the Zionist movement itself. During the Third Zionist Congress in 1899, Zionist activist David Treach delivered a speech in which he declared, quote, "Jews shouldn't seek refuge in lands favorable for European settlement as they would encounter resistance in every such country. They also won't be able to efficiently settle in tropical regions. Given these conditions, Cyprus is the most suitable location for Jewish settlement. While the island isn't a magnet for European settlers, its climate is suitable for Europeans, and notably, it is in close proximity to Israel, serving as a gateway to it." Now, when Treach observed that the climate of Cyprus is, quote, "suitable for Europeans," close quote, he acknowledged, at least implicitly, that Jews who sought to emigrate to Israel from Europe were, in fact, Europeans. I first learned of Zionist designs on Cyprus from a lengthy article in Ynet, a major Israeli media organization. The article is titled, quote, "Cyprus from the lost Jewish colony to today's Israeli settlement," close quote. Ynet published the expose in August 2023, weeks before Israel's genocidal rampage in Gaza began. According to Ynet, the Zionists' idea was that the Jewish state, as they called it, would initially be established in Cyprus and, quote, "once the situation in Eretz Israel clears up, all Jews from Cyprus would move to the Promised Land," close quote. But Treach's proposal, which was presented with Theodor Herzl's consent, was immediately rejected by the leadership of that Zionist Congress. According to Ynet, Herzl did not abandon the proposal for the establishment of a Jewish state in Cyprus nonetheless. In November 1899, Herzl wrote, quote, "Since the last Congress in Basel, there's been a growing fondness within the movement for the island of Cyprus. Given that the Ottoman government shows no inclination to reach an agreement with us, some want to turn to this island, which is under British control and which we could enter at any time. Until the next Congress, I still have control over the situation. But if no results are in hand by then, our plans will sink like water on the island of Cyprus, close quote. Ynet explained that Herzl saw Cyprus as leverage to achieve Zionism's primary goal, the land of Israel. In other words, historic Palestine. Over time, Herzl even considered that this island, situated close to the shores of Israel, could serve as a literal springboard. In 2003, the Jewish community in Cyprus numbered between 300 to 400 individuals. However, 2 decades later, the Jewish population, predominantly Israelis, exceeded 12,000. In August of last year, Ynet asked the local chief rabbi, Aryeh Raskin, who are these thousands of Israelis who have permanently relocated to Cyprus? Rabbi Raskin responded, quote, primarily those who can work from home. Many are high-tech professionals who reside in one of the cities. Unfortunately, some choose to live in rural areas. They can connect to anywhere in the world from their homes, but they're disconnected from Jewish life, close quote. Rabbi Raskin gave no indication, like Haaretz, that the thousands of Israelis who had come to Cyprus did so for reasons of conscience relating to the oppression of the Palestinian people. On October 11th of last year, 4 days after the October 7th attacks in Israel, the Cyprus Mail published an article titled, Israelis have made many investments in Cyprus. The article quoted George Mais, chairman of the Paphos Chamber of Commerce, as stating that Israelis, quote, have made many investments in the Paphos district, close quote. Mais stated that these investments have been directed at tourist and hotel units, as well as in apartments and larger residential properties. He added that numerous individual buyers had bought multiple properties in the area for use as rental properties, while others had invested in commercial spaces. A few weeks ago, in mid-September, I traveled to Cyprus to report on activities at the British military base on the southern coast of the island on the peninsula of Akrotiri. While I was there, I decided to take a closer look at the presence of Israelis on Cyprus. Upon arriving at Larnaca Airport, I first noticed that there were a number of Israeli jetliners parked at the terminal. Inside the terminal, I also noticed that there were numerous flights to Tel Aviv from Larnaca on the departure board. After passing through customs, I rented a vehicle and drove to the town of Paphos. Paphos lies on the southwest coast of Cyprus, about 65 kilometers from Britain's Akrotiri military base and the city of Limassol. I started my journey in Paphos because, based on media reports and information I received from Cypriots, a sizable contingent of Israelis had either taken up residence in Paphos or had invested in businesses there. My first stop in Paphos was the M Boutique Hotel, which advertises itself as the hotel that, quote, loves Israelis, close quote. In 2022, Ynet, a major Israeli media organization, reported that Israeli celebrity chef Meir Adoni was leaving the country in order to start a new beginning in Paphos in Cyprus. At the time, Adoni said that he needed to feel excited about life again, so apparently whatever was happening in the apartheid state at that particular moment was not sufficiently exciting for him. One of the projects that Adoni became involved in is behind me here. This is the M Boutique Hotel. It's a rather luxurious place, as you're about to see. And this hotel was apparently opened up very recently. It is jointly owned by Israeli and Cypriot interests. And an article published in the Jerusalem Post in May of this year, well after the genocide began in Gaza, stated that this is the foreign hotel that loves Israelis. And in fact, it even offers them a special discount. All you have to do is be Israeli and you pay less money. Let's go inside and have a look at this boutique hotel. Apparently, Meir Adoni is the executive chef of the rooftop restaurant. And let's get a sense of what's going on inside, shall we? So judging by the language spoken in there are indeed quite a few Israelis, and the hotel does indeed love them. As you can see, they're having a grand old time as their country slaughters Palestinian children by the thousands. Let's move on and see what else the Israeli expats have established here. Just steps away from the hotel that loves Israelis, you will find Eliyahu, which offers Israeli-style hummus. I'm not so sure that there actually is such a thing as Israeli hummus. My understanding is that the dish was co-opted from the indigenous Palestinian population, but who cares about such details when you're embarked on a project of dispossession? Let's move on, shall we? So I'm now on the boardwalk in Paphos, beside the sea. You know, I've been to this area before. According to Greek mythology, if I recall correctly, the waters of Paphos is where the goddess Aphrodite, the goddess of love, was born. For that and other reasons, I imagined before coming here, I've been in this general area before, but never in the center of Paphos, I expected to find a charming, idyllic Greek coastal town. Instead, what I've discovered here is crass, commercial, touristic hell. All along this boardwalk, there are these massive resorts established in ugly structures that are full of people from Northern Europe and principally from Britain who seem to have nothing better to do with their time than gorge on bad food and drink heavily. Not quite what I expected, frankly. And you know, if people who want to flee Israel, Israelis, either permanently or temporarily, are looking for an alternate lifestyle, I really don't know why they'd come here. I would have thought that they could do better than this. I suspect that the reason why a large number of Israelis are coming here is because there are opportunities to make money in the rapidly expanding tourism business. The weather is nice, of course, and the sea is beautiful, but man, I certainly wouldn't want to live around here. And you know, as I was walking around today, this is the part that really just revolted me, frankly. As I was walking around here, about 6 or 7 warplanes took off from Akrotiri and came screaming by. And they veered south in the general direction of Egypt or Israel. And then about 30 minutes later, a massive military transport plane took off from Akrotiri and roared by, veered to the south and off in the direction yet again of Israel. And I'm going to show you, I managed to catch both of those moments on camera. Here's what I saw. Now, the thing that struck me as most revolting about all of this is that I checked out the people around me when these warplanes went flying overhead and when this huge military transport plane roared over our heads and veered off in the direction of Israel. And they didn't blink an eye. They just went about their normal business. They kept sipping their pina coladas, listening to their tacky 80s British pop, gorging on their hamburgers and their fries. And none of this seemed to faze them at all. And you know, all you got to do is consult the public record, take a few minutes to inform yourself, and you can figure out pretty quickly what those warplanes in that military transport plane are up to. They are assisting in the commission of a genocide by the state of Israel's genocidal regime. This didn't seem to faze anybody. I'm now standing in the center of Paphos in front of a restaurant known as Saba. This restaurant was established in 2022 by that executive celebrity Israeli chef by the name of Meir Adoni. I believe this was his first venture in Cyprus. He later expanded to the M Boutique Hotel. This restaurant is reputed to serve Mediterranean grilled Israeli traditional cuisine in what it describes as a warm Jerusalem-like atmosphere. That doesn't look particularly Jerusalem-like or warm to me, but nonetheless, these are details. Later this evening, I'm going to have dinner at a restaurant called Demokritos. I believe it's Cypriot owned, but apparently it's very popular with the Israelis. It has live music, and judging from various Facebook posts, they feel warmly welcomed there. I'm now approaching a well-known establishment in Paphos called Demokritos. This is a Greek tavern, but it's reputed to be very popular with the Israeli expats and tourists. And since I happen to be craving a Greek meal tonight, I'm going to go in and join the festivities. After spending one night in Paphos, I drove north to an exclusive adults-only luxury resort known as the Secret Forest. I learned about this resort from peace activists on the island. The Secret Forest caters mostly to Israelis who visit Cyprus for rejuvenation. At this time of year, room prices range from 500 euros per night for a standard room to 1,350 euros per night for a 3-bedroom villa with its own pool. The resort was established by Israeli businessman Yoni Kahana. Kahana is only 35 years old, but despite his young age, he owns a kosher tourism company and 3 hotels in Cyprus. In the following video, Kahana explains what motivated him to invest in the Secret Forest.
פינטזתי לייצר מקום בלב הטבע. אתה מגיע אליו, אתה מתנתק מהשגרה, אתה עוצר רגע, אתה עושה פאוס ביום, אתה לוקח נשימה עמוקה פנימה, ויש לך זמן להקשיב. להקשיב לעצמך, להקשיב לטבע, להקשיב לעלים, להקשיב לאנשים אחרים, להקשיב למקומות וקולות בפנים שהשתקת אותם המון שנים.
היה לנו חזון לייצר מקום שיעורר תשוקה לאנשים להתאהב בעצמם ובחיים מחדש.
The secret forest is indeed a well-kept secret. It wasn't easy for me to find the resort, and in fact, it's off the main road, and as I drove northward from Paphos, I saw no signs indicating where the resort was situated. Upon arriving at the resort, I also found no valet or security booth, which was somewhat of a surprise, at the entrance to the facility, so I simply walked into the resort and recorded what I saw.
כן, אני באה.
Living it up in the hills of Cyprus.
He said if the fire is dead and he left it.
Well, that completes my tour of the secret forest. I basically just walked around the place as you saw and videotaped what I could. I heard a number of people speaking Hebrew. In fact, as far as I could tell, all the guests that I came across who were speaking Hebrew. The only non-Israelis, even the front desk actually, the staff there briefly addressed me when I was picking up some paperwork, some brochures in Hebrew for the clientele of the hotel. So one of them spoke to me in Hebrew, somebody behind the reception desk. Didn't look Greek to me, it looked like she was an Israeli. So as far as I can tell, the only non-Israelis here are the staff, and a number of them appear to be from Southeast Asia. I didn't encounter any, other than the receptionists, any Israelis among the staff. I think a more appropriate term for this establishment, rather than secret forest, might be apartheid forest. Just a suggestion.